Hi, I'm Terry Levitt for the Conway Daily Sun, and I'm here with Tricia Costigan, the new president of Memorial Hospital. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's great. So I'd like to start out with a little bit of information about you and how you came to Memorial Hospital. You are from Maine?
I am. I was born and raised in central Maine in a small town called Dover-Foxcroft, which is easier identified by, it's up in near the Moosehead Lake region. So small town, very similar to here, but much more rural.
And most recently, you were the head of a hospital, Northern Light Inland Hospital. Where's that located?
I was the president of Northern Light Inland Hospital, which is in Waterville, Maine, so 15 minutes north of Augusta.
And how is that compared to our hospital, about the same size, a critical access hospital?
So that hospital was licensed for 48 beds, so it was not a critical access hospital. It was what we would call a PPS hospital. The inpatient census ran about the same as what Memorial has. So Memorial is a highly functioning critical access hospital. It's almost the little hospital that could.
Well, we like to think so.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit more about your background, how you got into the healthcare industry.
Sure. So I'm actually the result of a Grow Your Own CNA program. I graduated from a small high school, so Foxcroft Academy. We had about 100 people in our graduating class. Went to college a couple of times and wasn't quite prepared for that. I joined the local nursing home and they trained me to be a certified nursing assistant. And I really liked patient care, so I worked nights, and some of my favorite time was with the residents at night because we could sit down and really spend some time with them. I joined the Navy because I felt like I needed a little bit of structure, so I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy and stationed in Portsmouth, Virginia. And my ex-husband was military, so we traveled around the world a little bit with his job, and then I went back to school and finished. I was in my 30s when I finished my degree. And it was accumulation of probably 5 different schools, put all my credits together, and I was able to graduate and then went on to get my master's degree. I've worked in private practice. I ran a plastic surgery group. I've worked for UPMC out in Pittsburgh, so a large system. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to transition back to New England with Northern Light Health at the time. And the work that I've done has always meant something. It's serving people. But coming back to New England is really my people. This is where I was born and raised. So to be able to do and work and care for people in where I grew up, it just gives the mission so much more meaning. I love it here, and this is home.
And so Augusta is about an hour and a half or 2 hours there.
So Augusta's probably about 2 hours from here. My husband and I were living in Dover, Foxcroft, so 3.5 hours from here.
And have you moved here, or are you moving here, or you're not commuting from?
No. My husband had to finish his work. He was also working for Northern Light. And so my dog and my cat and my husband, we all officially moved here last weekend. So we're all here. We're still looking for a house, but we're all here and very excited about it.
Oh. And how do you find our area? You say Dover Foxcroft is more rural. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, is it very recreation focused as we are, or what do you like about here, I guess would be another way to phrase that.
So my initial impression and what I like the most is this really is a small town. The community of being from a professional perspective, it's a small community that really takes care of its own, but the area lives more like a city. There are so many things that are available to us outside of work that we didn't have in central Maine. So restaurants and shopping and trails and hiking, and it's a little bit of everything. This is like a dream. It's a dream location. There's nothing you can't do if you're willing to go look for it.
And what do you like to do when you have free time, which I imagine is a little bit less right now, getting your feet on the ground?
So we are outdoors people. Interesting fact, I love to go fishing, but I'm scared to death of fish. So I like the, yeah. We ice fish, we ski, we hike. My dog loves to hike. He literally smiles when we're hiking. So we're outdoors people, and we do that here, and we also, our life in Maine allowed us to do some of that as well.
And what do you think of our little hospital?
When I interviewed here, I was hoping I would be fortunate enough to have the job, but my last words were, this is a really special place. And I realize it's probably normal to the people that have been here, but Memorial Hospital is a special place, and the partnership with MaineHealth allows it, I think, to be even more special. We have access to services and resources and expertise that are there for the local community that we wouldn't have without it. And it's a special place.
Well, I guess that sort of leads into, one of the things I wanted to talk about, which is the strain that hospitals are under here in New Hampshire, in Maine, in New England, in the United States. There's a lot to balance in terms of figuring out how to provide the services and pay for those services. And there are hospitals that are, many hospitals that are joining larger groups of hospitals, as Memorial has, and others that are not surviving. And we talked earlier about Northern Light Inland Hospital is one of those that's not going to survive. What's going to happen there?
So the Augusta-Waterville area has another healthcare system. So Maine General is there, and the services, while Inland was not redundant, there were services available. So oftentimes we hear about hospital closures that are, the community's really left with a vacancy, but Inland Hospital exists in a place where there is other services. So their patients, they're dedicated to helping their patients transition, from what I've seen, and I think they will do that. As far as the industry, balancing finances with the success in the patient care is obviously a challenge. But as an administrator, we try really hard to keep that balance within leadership and let the frontline people and our doctors and our nurses do what they do best, which is you take care of patients and we'll figure out the business. And if you do the right thing, generally the financials will follow.
Well, that's good news. One of those issues has been staffing for at least a decade, I think.
Yeah.
And I know that, as in your case, Memorial Hospital has quite a bit of its Grow Your Own program. Do you have a sense yet, I know you're very new, do you have a sense yet that that's working well enough, or if there's room to expand that or a need to expand that?
So I don't think you'd find any healthcare provider who would say, no, it's working fine. Right? We always have opportunity to do more. At a smaller facility like Memorial, we have one or two specialty positions, like a surgical tech position, it takes a year or two of education. And so for us to grow our own, we can't. So we need to partner with local community colleges and places that have those programs. And that would be another example of where being a part of a system, like us being a part of MaineHealth, where you can consolidate and maybe have a little bit more help in growing our own throughout the system, and then giving them the option of where they want to work. I don't have this is just my own sense after a couple of weeks, is that there are a lot of people who actually would like to work with us. We do have people who I've heard on multiple occasions they would prefer to come to Memorial. So we're working on figuring out how to make that happen.
And how has being part of MaineHealth helped Memorial? Does it help with the staffing? I know there are advantages financially to doing things together, but I was thinking a little bit beyond that.
Mm-hmm. So from a patient care and a staff education and staff development perspective, being a part of a system allows for people to shift in their careers and maybe move up into leadership and receive training that as a small standalone hospital would be hard for us to do. Also, we have access to expertise from specialists to business people to quality expertise that as a small hospital you really wouldn't have that as a standalone. So we have access to levels of expertise that are hard to come by when you're a standalone. And also the care that a hospital provides inside the walls is important, but the care we provide outside the walls is probably the most important thing we do. And, you know, we're dedicated to making our community as healthy as possible because that's what we do. That's what we're a partner for that. But MaineHealth, our whole motto is, you know, making a community the healthiest in America. So they stand behind our mission, and we're all in it together.
And you said earlier something about you've noticed that our community seems to be a particularly healthy community, perhaps compared to your experience, not just in Maine, but in your travels.
This is a very active place to live, to get outside. So I think it draws a population of people that tend to be active and moving. And in addition to the community just generally being somewhat healthy, I think that there's also a lot of partners within the community. This valley is a unique place, not only geographically, but also from the way that neighbors take care of neighbors.
I know you're administrative, but I do want to talk a little bit about health issues. And one of the big health issues these days still, and again, is viruses. Our community, in my observation, a lot of people have been sick with flu and COVID and a lot of viruses this winter, but seeming like a normal winter, just a lot of viruses. And I know that measles is becoming an issue nationally. There's more talk about that. And so I thought I'd ask you about the state of healthcare around those kinds of infections and what people can do to stay healthy today.
Wash your hands. Like, that's the number one thing. Wash your hands, don't touch your face. Measles, to our knowledge, it's not here yet, or hopefully ever, but we are prepared. That's something that we prepare for on a regular basis. So we would be prepared if we were to see it in our communities. As far as viruses, COVID has really switched to being an endemic as opposed to a pandemic. It's something that is going to be around for a while, and we have vaccines. You can work with your provider to decide what is the best choice for you, and we have those all available. But it's the same things we learned during COVID. If you don't feel well, maybe don't go to that family dinner. Stay home, rest, take care of yourself, take care of your body, and wash your hands. That's that's really the best thing we can do.
That's good. Well, I think that's a lot of what we wanted to talk about. I guess I did want to ask you, is there something that particularly excites you about your job coming into Memorial Hospital, something you're looking forward to?
So as a hospital president, you always look at your team, right? And the team at Memorial, special is the word that keeps coming to mind, but they're special. They get a lot done in a small amount of space. The hospital is definitely space constrained, and with the growth in the valley, we are balancing how to best utilize our space to meet the needs of the community. But the piece that excites me the most is not only do we have a really engaged team that is focused on caring for our community, but we have a really engaged community that's focused on caring for each other. And so for us, my job, and the best part about my job right now, is figuring out what is the role of Memorial Hospital and how do we do that, how do we partner, and how do we do it even better.
Well, that sounds great. Well,
Yeah,
thank you
I'm
for coming
excited.
in today.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
Well, I hope we have you again.
I hope so too.